Well, I hope that you are doing well, but I know that there still are several people that are hurting or are sick, but battling various illnesses. And as always, we want to be mindful of those individuals. We want to lift their good name up before our good Father in heaven, because He is able to do remarkable things, things beyond our imagination. Praise be to Him for that. I hope that we take advantage of the power of prayer, but I pray that we don't take it for granted. So let's be mindful of those things. Let's be praying for individuals. I hope as well that you are excited to study the Word of God for the next few minutes. I know last week I said that we would start the book of Romans tonight online and start the book of Romans in person so we could keep it together. But that's not going to happen because we didn't finish the book of Genesis last week in person because of the severe weather. So what we're going to do is we'll start the book of Romans next Wednesday in person and online. Okay, so we'll do that. So for tonight, what I want to do is, because we never finished the Joseph narrative online, I would like to get as far as we possibly can to finishing the Joseph narrative, and then we'll be ready for next Wednesday night. Whatever we don't get to, we can just simply read ourselves, I guess, and that will be the end of the book of Genesis. Well, you remember, to catch us up to speed, we're in Genesis 44, that Joseph has tested his brother several times now. Benjamin is now in Egypt with the other brothers. Jacob has put him in the trust of his other brothers. And Joseph has this plan. Joseph is wanting to know, have my brothers really changed? More specifically, how do my brothers view the sons of Rachel? Do they still have the same viewpoint that they had, that made them jealous, that made them hate me? Joseph would be thinking, enough to throw me into a pit and, sell me as a slave? Or has their attitude changed since they sold me and I've been gone for so long? This is what Joseph is really wanting to get at. So he tells, I'm sorry, my dog barked. He tells the steward of his house, fill the men's sacks with food and put as much money as you can in the mouth of his sack, and put my cup, the silver cup, in the mouth of the sack of the youngest with his money for the grain. And he did as Joseph told him. Now, as we're going to find out, this would not have been a cup. This cup would not have been allowed to leave Egypt. This was a very precious cup, a cup that belonged to Joseph and him only. But he tells them, of course, to put it in Benjamin's sack. We see him kind of setting up the whole scenario. Why Benjamin? Again, he's wanting to test the brothers. As soon as the morning was light, the men were sent away with their donkeys. They had gone only a short distance from the city. Now Joseph said to his steward, "Up, follow after the men, and when you overtake them, say to them, 'Why have you repaid evil for good? Is it not from this that my Lord drinks, and by this that he practices divination? You have done evil in doing this.'" So notice, it doesn't take long that after the brothers leave Egypt and they think everything is fine and dandy. Well, we wonder that. At least I wonder, right? Did they actually think everything was going to be okay? Because, they've left Egypt before, worried because they found money in their sacks as well. Weird things have happened to them in Egypt. Did they really think that they were going to be able to go back to the land of Canaan and everything would be fine? I don't know, but maybe they thought everything was fine. Well, not long after leaving, Joseph sends his men after them, right? And his steward says to the men, what are you doing? We've treated you so well in the land of Egypt, and this is how you repay us. You take my Lord's cup. He drinks from that cup, and notice it says that he practices divination. One thing we know that some Egyptian royals would do is they would have their cup for divination, wanting to foretell the future, and they would do this by filling the cup up with water, and then they would pour like wine or some oil into the cup, and you would see all these different configurations, and they would seek to tell the future by sort of analyzing these configurations. So when he overtook them, he spoke to them these words. They said to him, "Why does my Lord speak such words as these? Far be it from your servants to do such a thing. Behold, the money that we found in the mouths of our sacks, we brought back to you from the land of Canaan. How then could we steal silver or gold from your Lord's house?" They were so worried last time they left Egypt because they found their money back in their sack that they brought it back to Egypt, right? So what they paid for this time, they paid double because they wanted to give money back because they were worried that, this Egyptian, being Joseph, was going to say, you've stolen from us. So not only are we going to accuse you as spies, but you are thieves as well. This is something that they were very worried about. And they said, how could this be? We were so worried. We even came and we asked, hey, we told you money was in our sacks. How in the world could we possibly steal from you? We tried to return what we thought you might suppose was stolen before. So it doesn't seem to, they're trying to make their argument. So they say, whichever of your servants is found with it shall die, and we also will be my Lord's servants. He said to them, let it be as you say. He who is found with it shall be my servant, and the rest you shall be innocent. Then each man quickly lowered his sack to the ground, and each man opened his sack. So we can see the brothers, setting their sacks down and just being anxious. Their anxiety growing more and more until their sack is checked and the cup's not found, and everything seems to be going good. They know that they didn't steal this cup. Now, if their anxiety was eased after their sack was checked, I guarantee that all of them were anxious until Benjamin's sack was checked, because they remember what Jacob had told them before they left to go to the land of Egypt. They knew in their mind that should something happen to Benjamin, their father would not make it. They've already seen what happened when they lost Joseph. So when he searched, beginning with the eldest and ending with the youngest, and the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. Then they tore their clothes, and every man loaded his donkey, and they returned to the city. When Judah and his brothers came to Joseph's house, he was still there. They fell before him to the ground. Joseph said to them, what deed is this that you have done? Do you not know that a man like me can practice divination? In other words, Joseph's trying to play it off like, why in the world did you think you could steal my cup if I used this cup to, foresee the future? Did you not think that I couldn't have seen this coming and know that you are the ones that took my cup? Of course, he's trying to scare them. And notice that Judah is the one that pipes up, and he tries to make a defense. He says, God has found out the guilt of your servants. Behold, we are my Lord's servants, and we won't read this. But this happens to be the longest speech in the book of Genesis. Now, we know that the Egyptians liked long, eloquent speeches. So what some scholars have tried to say is, well, Judah gives a really long speech here because he knows that he knows that the situation is not in his favor. So he tries to meet the Egyptians on their own ground in order to sort of receive a favorable outcome. Maybe. I'm not sold on that. I think he just spills and pours out his heart because he knows, should Benjamin have to stay in Egypt, or should they kill Benjamin, that's going to be the end of Jacob. It will kill him, and he's doing everything he can to make sure that that doesn't happen. He even says he even says to Joseph, listen, I'm willing to give myself. I'm willing to stay if you'll let Benjamin go back. We won't read the rest so we can get through as much as we possibly can. But of course, this is everything that Joseph has wanted to hear. Now his brothers are not willing to bail. They're not willing to get out of the difficult situation. Now they're willing to give themselves for a son of Rachel. That's exactly what Joseph wants to see. So no doubt when we get to Genesis chapter 45, we read, then Joseph could not control himself before all those who stood by him. He cried, make everyone go out from me. So no one stayed with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers. And he wept aloud. So the Egyptians heard it, and the household of Pharaoh heard it. And Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? But his brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed at his presence. Of course, the brothers have not been able to recognize Joseph, right? He no longer looks like a Hebrew, is no longer probably in some way speaking like a Hebrew, although we know that he still knew Hebrew because he was able to understand the brothers while they thought they were having a secret conversation. But nevertheless, notice that Joseph is so upset. His cry, is probably one of joy and probably one of hurt at the same time. His cry was heard throughout all of Egypt. Now, does this mean that this was that God magnified the cry of Joseph so everyone could hear it? No. Joseph's servants would have heard him crying, and they probably would have talked to other servants, and they would have talked to more servants, and eventually this news would have gotten to Pharaoh. But as you can imagine, the brothers are just they just can't believe it. So Joseph said to his brothers, come near to me, please. And they came near, and he said, I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed or angry. Now notice he tries to calm them, because if you're one of his brothers, what are you thinking? Oh my goodness. He is about to get revenge. He is about to unleash his wrath on us because of the terrible thing that we did to him. But Joseph tells them, listen, I'm not in the business of getting revenge. Don't be angry with yourselves because I'm not angry. Notice what he said, because you sold me here, for God sent me here before you to preserve your life. That is powerful. Notice what Joseph has realized. Joseph has realized that God took a bad situation and he's the one that actually made it happen so that Joseph could provide for his father and his brothers when this severe famine came. Well, all these terrible things that have happened to Joseph have happened so that God could preserve a remnant during this intense famine. For the famine has been in the land these 2 years. Now, notice if it's these 2 years, the famine was supposed to be for 7 years, so we have 5 years remaining. Notice he actually says that. And there are yet 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest. And God sent me before you to preserve you for a remnant on earth and to keep alive for you many survivors. So it was not you who sent me here, notice that, but God. He has made me a father to Pharaoh. Now, what in the world does this mean? He has made me a father to Pharaoh. Well, Joseph is the one that is giving counsel and advice. Pharaoh comes to him. Pharaoh has come to him for wisdom on what to do during these times of plenty and this time of famine. So Joseph is acting as a father to Pharaoh because he's giving him wisdom. So let's see. And Lord of all his house and ruler over all the land of Egypt, hurry and go up to my father and say to him. Now notice this is the one that has been on Joseph's mind from the very beginning since he has seen his brothers. He wants to know how Jacob is doing, and he wants to make sure that he is able to see Jacob. He's the one that he's ultimately missed. Hurry and go up to my father and say to him, thus your son Joseph, God has made made me Lord of all Egypt. Come down to me, do not tarry. You shall dwell in the land of Goshen, and you shall be near me, you and your children and your children's children and your flocks and your herds and all that you have. There I will provide for you, for there are yet 5 years of famine to come, so that you and your household and all that you have do not come to poverty. And now your eyes see, and the eyes of my brother Benjamin sees, that it is my mouth that speaks to you. You must tell my father of all my honor in Egypt and of all that you have seen. Hurry and bring my father down here. Then he fell upon his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept upon his neck. And he kissed all his brothers and wept upon them. And after that, his brothers talked to him. So notice what is going on here. He tells his brothers, go back, okay, and make sure that you convince Jacob to come. And this is how you're going to do it. He is not going to believe you when you tell him that Joseph is alive. So you're going to have to tell him of all the remarkable things. You're going to have to break this down scenario by scenario. All the things that have happened to you while you've been here in Egypt. And you need to make the points of connection, you need to make them click, right? You need to really put the puzzle together so that he can see the full picture. But notice that he tells them, I want you to move down to the land of Egypt. And don't you worry about packing up your stuff. We have everything that you could possibly need in the land of Egypt. But you need to get out of the land of Canaan, and you need to come down here because things are about to get a lot worse, and we want to make sure that you're taken care of the way that God wanted it to be. Now, when the report was heard, verse 16, in Pharaoh's house, Joseph's brothers have come. It pleased Pharaoh and his servants. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, say to your brothers, do this, load your beasts and go back to the land of Canaan, and take your father and your households and come to me, and I will give you the best of the land, and you shall eat the fat of the land. Now, we're running out of time. So here's what happens. We can read the rest of the story and find out, but let's just sort of finish 45. Jacob is finally convinced. Pharaoh was gracious enough to give wagons so that they could load their things. He was gracious enough to give them a place to live in Goshen, and gracious enough to let them be taken care of during this intense famine. When Jacob sees Joseph, obviously he cannot believe it. He can't believe that he's able to see his son, but he knows that God has taken care of him. God is the one that has allowed him to see Joseph. Joseph will tell his brothers that when Pharaoh asks what they do for a living, he is not to tell them that he's to tell them that they're shepherds, so that Pharaoh will not want to give them an Egyptian job. Of course, I think he gets 5 of Joseph's brothers to go before Pharaoh, and Jacob goes before Pharaoh. He blesses Pharaoh, and things are looking good for Joseph's family. This is where we'll stop. If you have time, finish out the book of Genesis. It closes in a great way and really sets us up to get into the book of Exodus maybe eventually. I can't wait to see everybody Sunday. God bless.